that amazing, ladies and gentlemen? And I am very thrilled to say that we have Maddy Miller on the line with us right now from New York. Hi, Maddy. How are you?
Hi, Tony. I'm great. Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
Well, I am very excited. I'm very thrilled that you've happy to be my guest. And I'm just going to move this microphone stand. You can't see it. There we
Okay.
go. I'm just moving that out of the way. Right. I'm very thrilled that you are my guest, and we will have lots of questions coming in. But before all of that, I just wanted to start right at the beginning. I mean, you were given a camera at a very young age, 7 years old. Was there
7 years old.
Go on.
My dad was a photographer, and he let me use his Rolleiflex when I was 7. And I used to take pictures, of the neighbor's dog, the neighbor's car, and then my dad would make the prints, and I would give them a print. And then once somebody gave me $5.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, I can do this.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so that's kind of how it all started. And then when I was about a young teenager, I started. I'm a native New Yorker,
right?
And I lived in the boroughs in Queens, and I used to take the subway into Manhattan and go to the stage doors of Broadway shows and shoot the celebrities as they were coming out of the shows. And so I kind of became sort of like a Broadway show groupie. And and then my friends and I used to sneak into the second half of the shows, which you could do back then.
Oh.
And so that was so that's how I sort of got the celebrity bug, of and sort of and in ease, in ease being around them.
Right.
So
did you make some friends on the theatre doors back in those days? Did they go? Oh,
I made
Maddy.
fabulous friends.
Yeah.
Well, actually, 3 friends from the cast of Oliver, Davy Jones, my friend Alice, and Alice Playton, who was in the show, and Bruce Prochnick, who played Oliver, who's in England, lives in Watford, and and we're friends to this day.
Wow.
So
amazing. Listen, we've got lots and lots of questions coming in, so I'm going to jump around your life story a little bit and throw questions in as we come along.
Okay.
Philip Chan says, which celebrity did you have the most fun with during the shoot?
I probably Elton John, because it was just so early in his career and so early in mine, and we were kind of like kids,
Right.
and backstage at the Fillmore, on stage at the Fillmore. I mean, it was just so exciting, the whole, and watching him rehearse, all alone, just with him on the stage, right. And watching him kind of go through what he could do on piano. I was like kind of really blown away, and his handstands and his, I said to myself, I can't believe this is real. I mean, it was just, it was great. It was, probably, Elton John, I would say. And I had a great time with Cher.
Right.
And I adore her to this day. It's like.
And do you still stay in touch with the people that you managed to work with and had a good time with?
No, some. I mean, I've run into people over the years, and and they always remember, and that's so nice. I mean, I've run into Elton John, many times, and he would always say, Holiday Inn, Lakeshore Drive, and that's where we took the pictures in Chicago.
Wow.
And it was, he's great.
It's nice to be memorable, right?
So obviously, when you take these pictures, it obviously had a big impact on my life, but you hope that it had some impact on their lives too,
Yeah. Well, I was saying in the intro, and I did mention to you when we checked the line, that your photography does something more than takes a picture. It captures a moment that has great depth and great life in it, bizarrely enough, for something that is a still, right? And is that something that you knew you were doing, or was that just something that you instinctively did because it was the right thing to do?
I think it was both, and I think it also had to do with the time. The time. A lot of these pictures were taken, at a time in celebrity photography where you had total access and you could completely work with your subject one-to-one. There was no publicist. There was no glam team. You just met up with them, and then you did the pictures. and
Right.
there was nobody telling you what to do or steering your direction. It was just you clicked, you get the picture, you hung out, and it was, and magic often happens, and that's what you wanted.
And did you do? I'm guessing that you did all your own developing as well, because your dad was a technician, wasn't he? He
No, no,
printed.
no. Some I didn't. No, no, I never did. I
Oh,
did. I did when I was younger. When I was more of a teenager, and
right,
at home we had a dark room. But once I kind of started shooting professionally, either the magazine I worked for had a lab,
right.
or we would, or I had a lab that I used.
So,
But
so you started working
I mean,
for
occasionally I would print. But
right, but you started working for Look magazine, which is where your dad had worked. Is that right?
right, right. My dad actually was not a photographer there. He was a printer. He was a technician,
Right.
and he used to print for Stanley Kubrick, who was a staff photographer.
Really? Oh my
At the time
goodness.
my dad worked there.
Do you know?
Yeah, and
I don't want to change the subject too much, but I did see the other day some Kubrick's pictures from New York from very early in his life. Amazing pictures, right? Before he was the film
great
producer.
pictures.
Yes.
He did pictures on the subway, and he did pictures of boxing, and and I guess
Yeah.
other things. No, he was great, and he was very, very young, at that time.
Is that something that you were ever
So
interested in at a point in your career, that to go into movie making?
no, 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 to actually go, no, no, filmmaking, no, no,
Right.
no, that was never. No, no, I like the still picture.
Okay.
I'd rather tell the story in a still.
It's true. Tamsin Keating has two questions for you. Her first question is, who is your favourite photographer?
Um, I have a few favorite photographers. Harry Benson,
Okay.
who I worked with for many years. He came over. He came to America. He was on the plane with the Beatles,
Oh, wow.
and he's still, he's a friend, and he's got an amazing, amazing, body of work, and then. Oh, I don't know. Then there were the old life photographers, Margaret Burke White, and the people that kind of like, they kind of paved the way for everybody else.
Right.
The kind of the, yeah.
And her second part of her question was, who takes pictures of you? Who takes your photos?
I do selfies. I'm being very good at doing
Your
selfies.
selfies are very convincingly not selfied. They look like someone took them. They're
Yeah,
brilliant.
most of the pictures on that you have here of me, they're most of those are selfies or self timers or I don't
Yes.
trust anybody else. Why would I?
Well, that's true. Absolutely. So you mentioned the Beatles there, and you saw the Beatles at was it the Ed Sullivan Show?
Yeah, that was the thing. My friend Bruce, was back in England, and he wrote me and said, "Guess what? The Beatles are coming to America, and they're going to be on the Ed Sullivan Show." So 16 years old, however, I wrote a letter, to the Ed Sullivan Show, and I said, "Can I please have 8 tickets for when the Beatles are on?" And these tickets arrived in the mail.
Wow, that was
These tickets arrived in the mail.
must have been the hottest ticket in town.
It was the hottest ticket. Well, yeah, I mean, because there were like the Ed Sullivan Theater holds just over 300 people.
Right.
That was it.
I'm sure the demand must have been incredible for it.
Yeah, and they put downstairs in the theater were all the kind of the people who the grown-ups, the people
Yes.
who were obviously advertisers or people that were connected with the show who had connections, and they put all the teenagers upstairs. So it was a really small section where the fans were in the upper
Right.
balcony.
And in the trailer we had there was a picture of the Beatles. That was from the show, wasn't it? From the Ed Sullivan Show.
No, I took that from my seat when I went to see them at Carnegie Hall, which was
Oh,
like
wow.
just a few weeks later, I think. Yeah.
That was quite a thing to play Carnegie Hall then, I'm guessing, because that's normally a classical venue, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. It's great because it's also small.
Right.
The two under 3,000 seats, I think.
They did so few
That's why when I
gigs.
had, they did. Yeah, they really did. When I got ticket, I also had tickets to Shea Stadium, and I sold those because I said, "Whoa, why would I want to see them at Shea Stadium when I've seen them at the Ed Sullivan Show?" And I had something to really remember.
Oh, yeah.
rather than being a crowd of like 40,000. It was.
Have you met Paul, or did you meet? Well, no, you took pictures of John, didn't you?
I took pictures of John at that. It was at that benefit. It was the 1-to-1. It was a benefit concert, and that he to raise money for to create group homes for mentally disabled, because there was a lot of bad press on this place called Willowbrook. But what I heard about that show, and somebody can fact check it, was that it was his first appearance alone after the Beatles did their last concert in Candlestick Park. So that goes from 66 to 72,
Wow.
where he didn't perform.
Is there a? I'm trying to think. Is there an Elton John connection with that? There was some?
No.
No, that's not the one where he joined Elton John on stage, is it? And they did something together, or was it Bowie? I'm getting
Oh no,
confused now.
no.
There was a concert. There was
No.
something where they.
I think he did join Bowie.
Yeah, I think it was the Bowie thing. Yes, it was the Bowie thing.
Yeah.
Let me see. More questions coming in. This is the time is going too quickly, and I'm loving this. Stephen Pratt says New York.
Let's just stay on.
Okay. Stephen Pratt said New York must have been wonderful in those days.
Oh yeah. I'm a New York photographer. I mean, most of these pictures are done in New York. On the street, on rooftops. The pictures. Linda Ronstadt. We just walked around Greenwich Village for 2 days. And ended up on a friend's roof and took that picture that's in this set. And that was so yeah. New York was great in those days. It's great now.
When you did the cookies with Andy Warhol, what was that kind of experience like to be around Andy?
It was the strangest thing, but he's so strange. I was working for a magazine, and they said, we'd like to sign you to go with Andy Warhol to New Jersey. It was the famous Amos cookie factory, and Andy's going to make cookies. So I said, okay. So I went in the car with him. There was a car that took us there. And they gave Andy all this, he was like a little kid, all this paraphernalia, famous Amos cookie hat, all this stuff. And they gave me dough too, and chips and all this stuff. And we were on this table, and everybody made cookies, and then we took our cookies home. and it was just, I couldn't never really figure out what it was, who it was publicity for. Maybe it was for famous Amy, that he made cookies. I don't know. Right. And it's funny because he had, in my photograph of him making the cookies, when I look at that photograph, his hands were very doughy. I mean, I always look at people's hands because I like to use hands in photographs, and his hands were almost as doughy as the dough. But he was great. Coming back in the car, we took each other's pictures. So I have that. I have a picture of me taken by him. So yeah.
And I mean, that's a world away.
It was a very strange. It was a very strange day, but it was really a lot of fun.
Because it sounds like it's a world away from the kind of the world of the Chelsea Hotel and what we know Andy Warhol.
It was a world away. That was what I was thinking. What are we doing here in this little New Jersey factory? It's like I never got it. But I got it. I got pictures. So and he was great to work with. So
was there a musician or a celebrity that you would really love to have photographed but you never got the chance to?
Ella Fitzgerald. I loved Ella Fitzgerald. She was my mom's favorite. My mom used to go see her in Harlem when she was a teenager. She's still one of my favorites, and I would have given the world to photograph her.
I guess the challenge in life is finding the time and the opportunity to do everything, really. And it's impossible to do everything, unfortunately.
You're right.
Dominique Barnes has a question. You may not wish to answer it, but I will ask it anyway. She says, who was a complete diva whilst having their picture taken? Was there anyone that was a diva?
I can't, that happened more later on. I never had that experience on a one-to-one with anybody. really
Right.
never. But once we got into the 80s and the 90s when there was more publicist control and stuff, and that's I became more of a photo editor back in those days, so I would
Right.
more like produce the shoots. And yeah, there were a lot of difficult people, but it wasn't so much them as their team
Right.
that was difficult. So like everybody always says, oh, Diana Ross is so difficult. I never photographed her, but I did work with her on her autobiography.
Right.
And I was her photo. I found her, I found her pictures for her, and she was great. She was great to me. She was great to work with. Very professional.
So,
And I never found her to be a diva.
Spiros says, Maddie, tell us about the Who and Melanie. So I'm going to pop. We've got a picture here. I'm going to put it on the screen right now, so everyone at home can see this
Okay.
very, very moody, interesting picture. We'd love to know the story behind this.
Yeah. Well, I went to Melanie was performing at the Isle of Wight, and I was with her because to take pictures and and to hang out and whatever it is. And she there was one night, the first night they told her she was going to go on, and then I think they put Joni Mitchell in her place or something. So we left. The
Right.
second night, waiting around, they said, "Okay, you're going to follow the Who." And it was like, what? How does somebody with like a guitar,
Yes.
how do you follow the Who? And Melanie was like freaking out, and everybody, we were all freaking out. And Keith Moon came over and said, not to worry, we'll take care of you.
Oh.
Like that. And the Who did a 2-hour set. They went on at 2 a.m.
Oh my God.
They went on at 2 a.m. I was on the stage like the whole set. And I was like, that was another thing. I was like, I couldn't even take pictures. I was so stunned. I did take a few, but I was like, I was, I was like stunned that I was like right there at at the
Right.
corner of the stage at the Isle of Wight, looking out at 600,000 people, and the Who was like right in front of me, and he was like tossing drumsticks, and I was like ducking, you know, they looked like dogs chewed them when he got done with them, and um, and then he did. It was like they got off the stage. It was like 4 a.m. There was and somehow like the crew that was supposed to clean up the stage disappeared, and he did it. He got some people, roadies, whatever, and he was rushing around cleaning up the stage. He set up Melanie's microphone,
Wow.
and he introduced her and said she was a dear friend of ours, which she'd never met them before, and it made everything just like so much easier, for her. And then afterwards, we got that picture, this picture, in it was a small tent. There was no light, and I asked somebody to hold a work light,
Right.
and it was so that it was kind of lit with just sort of like one light bulb, and it was really nice. I mean, I
Amazing.
love this. I loved every minute. I think about that more than and Keith Moon gave each of us a drumstick.
What a gentleman.
That,
What a real
that
gentleman.
was, yeah, what a nice guy.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's amazing. And that was one of the legendary festivals. There have been a few, obviously Woodstock, but that Isle of Wight festival was quite a landmark event, wasn't it?
yeah.
So to be a part of that,
It was yeah. I mean, just I remember coming in. We came in on this we took the ferry, and then there was a little plane and then I remember like the propeller wouldn't start, and the pilot gets out and turns it with his hands, and he
no.
goes, "Not to worry," and I go, "Not to worry." And Melanie goes, "Don't worry, I have a good vibe." I said, "Okay," and we flew over, and then there we were, like flying over these people, and it was like, what are they were like so many people. It was just yeah, it was pretty exciting because I didn't go to Woodstock, so
Right.
that was sort of it for me. That was it. That was my big festival.
Amazing. We are sadly starting to run out of time, and I would love to ask you a couple of other questions, but I'd also like to ask you about what you're doing right now, because you are taking all of your experience, all of your skills, all of your passion, and now instead of working only with celebrities and stars, you're working creating portraits for people in ways that aren't just staged in a in a photo studio. And
Yeah, I just decided to take to the streets, you know? I mean, just, this is the time of my life, just take to the streets. And I always wanted, I rode the subways my whole life, and what are the subways, New York subways? They're known for being filthy, crowded, you know, crime. And I said, well, maybe we can spin that, and I discovered that they had all these events that happens in the subway. The no pants subway ride. SantaCon. Halloween was amazing in the subway. So I for the last 8 years, I've been like riding the subway and taking pictures of
wow.
and putting the flip side on it. Just using it as my stage and these here and finding these great people, to photograph. And that's what I'm hoping. It'll be a book or a combination book or an autobiographical book that tells, the whole story.
Right.
I don't know, but that's what I'm piecing together in my head.
Maddie, it's been
That's what,
an absolute joy and a pleasure to talk to you. And I think if you wouldn't mind,
you
we'd
t-
love you to come back and do at least a part two because there's so much yet to talk about.
oh, I would love to, and maybe one day I'll photograph you, Tony.
Oh, thank
It's
you. I would be unbelievably honoured.
that,
That's
yeah, I
amazing.
would love that.
Listen, Maddie,
I
it's,
read your history. I read your history too.
oh,
So
okay. Well, I've done a couple of things, but
I've
listen,
done a little homework. Yeah.
you have been such a beautiful and gracious and giving guest, and I love your stories, and I would love to hear more.
Oh,
In the meantime, we're going to post all the links to your social media and to your website and everything because you have a vault on your website that
right. I have a vault on my website.
that
Yeah.
contains some
Which
very
my
special work.
website needs a big time update, but I'm working on that one.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's pretty good.
Well, Maddie, thank you so much. We will definitely have you back in the near future to talk some more. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and thank you so
Yeah, you
much.
too, Tony. Stay safe. Yeah,
Okay.
stay happy and stay well.
All
Yeah.
right. Lots of love. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.